Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories as we are bearing down on episode 400. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires that we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
You have a choice on how we're going to start this podcast.
Uh-oh.
You can choose either option A, which is a weasel walks into a bar. The bartender looks up and says, "Wow, in all my years tending bar, I've never had a weasel stop by. What can I get you?" "Pop," goes the weasel.
No, I don't like that.
Or we can do the rarely used segment where we admit to a mistake and make corrections for it.
Uh-oh. We should make our corrections because I know you regret the error.
I do, and I mean it's one of the how would you say, enduring aspects of me being on this podcast is the fact that I not only mispronounce names, but I slaughter them. It's not my fault that people don't know how to pronounce their own name. However, every so often we have something on the show, like on our review show 2 weeks ago when I reviewed the ebook. Trying to find the name of it here.
Now you can't even remember it.
Oh no, I remember it. I just have it all set up, and I believe it's called Fight Like a Girl. And we talked about it because I ended up buying the ebook from the creator, and I plugged everything, and I thought I got everything right, and she sent us a letter.
What?
Actually, so I will just read it out loud, and this is in her voice, and it'll be my voice, but just imagine it's her voice because, like Barney says, it's fun to have an imagination. So she says, "Smiling so big now, thank you. We'll listen to the whole show this afternoon, but wanted to forward 2 things." And the reason she's smiling is because we gave her a positive review and that she thanked us for our kindness and generosity. The first thing is that the Ko-fi, Ko-FY, where you can find her work, is pronounced coffee.
No! So it's not Kofi Kingston?
Nope, it's coffee.
Coffee.
Even though it's Ko-FI. She goes on, "I know kids nowadays with the slang. That's why folks buy you cups of coffee, Ko-FI, so they can caffeinate your creativity." Get it? Got it?
Oh.
Yeah, I like that. The other one was in the LNNOP thing. Again, not a biggie to me. My friends pronounce it LN-nope, just to be funny, but usually I just say LMNOP, just like the alphabet song. I think I was going LNOP, thinking Minnesota op, originally it stood for Lisa Marie, obviously not Presley. Because when I'd say my name is Lisa Marie, I would
okay.
"Oh, is your last name Presley?" Anyways, I stopped using the whole backstory when millennials came along. I do the whole thing, explain it, and they would say, "Who's Lisa Marie Presley?" Thanks for making me feel old. By the way, I too am 54 and dealing with this stupid St. Paul winter. All that aside, you're a gem and happy belated birthday to me, obviously. I'm looking forward to listening to the whole file today. Best to you, as we say in MN, stay warm. LMNOP. And again, if you want to go check out her work, go to coffee, ko-fi.com, and just look it up. LMNOP art. So
well, that's cool.
We stand corrected, and we give her a heartfelt plug as well.
And Joe regrets the error.
I do regret the error. Not that I wouldn't do it again. I mean, even I'm going to say, Cory, how would you pronounce something spelled LNNOP? I can barely say it. That's why I don't use the alphabet much.
I'm just proud of the fact that I can pronounce Bill Sienkiewicz.
I'm proud of the fact that we broke a record. Do you realize this is the snowiest February ever in Minnesota?
Ever!
We're at 30 inches, and we are still going, because even as we speak, not only did we survive a winter blast, which is basically crippling the East Coast, and I don't know what you got. I think we got about 6 inches of snow here. And
All I know is that when I got home, I could not get up on the deck without shoveling first.
Yeah, I moved my truck around because we got a snow emergency, and I didn't want to be interrupted while we're podcasting again.
Which
But
is okay.
yeah, which is fine. It makes it interesting. And any excuse to get my lovely wife on the show. But I did shovel a little bit earlier today, and my hip said, "You dumb person." So I just did a little tiny path. Fortunately, I got kind neighbors, or as I call it, guys with big machines. Arr, arr, arr. He got to whip out the snowblower. He went up and down the entire block, which is what I'd do if I had one of those things. I mean, we've gone like, what, 3-4 months without any snow, and now it seems like we can't stop. So...
Well, use a snowblower and not a flamethrower, because I guess a gentleman over in Fargo got arrested for using a flamethrower.
Yeah, those guys in Fargo have no fun. I could see a flamethrower. It would work.
I want a flamethrower. That's one of the things Elon Musk has talked about making that I want. I want a flamethrower because the idea of a flamethrower is fascinating to me. The whole idea of a flamethrower is, you know that thing way over there? I'd like to put that on fire while I'm standing right here.
I don't know. I've seen too many war biops. I think they're just horrific. But not as horrific of the fact that we have never been nominated for an Academy Award.
I don't care about the Academy Awards. I think I've told this story. When I was a kid,
I want one. I just don't care about them.
I watched the Oscars religiously. And I would go out of my way to see the movies that were nominated for Oscars until 1984. Joe, do you remember what movie won the Oscar in 1984? 1994.
You know what's funny? I go on and on about the Jason Show, a local broadcaster here. He just did a show where he talked about not only interviews that he's done in the past, and it's funny. I mean, it's like looking at old pictures of you and me in high school, compared to what we look like today, and he's been doing this for 22 years. But he just talked about that topic, and 1994 was specifically mentioned. I'm trying to think of I could spend all night trying to remember. Just instead of me running to the Google 3000, go ahead and tell us.
Forrest Gump won for Best Picture.
That's right. A good movie.
Beat The Shawshank Redemption and Pulp Fiction, both films that were 100 times better.
Yes. And Jason concurs. He says Gump is a good film. I don't want to knock it, but it's not the best film, especially
it's
compared
not
to
even
Pulp
a great
Fiction.
Film.
That is people use the things that Quentin Tarantino have put down on that to this day in their films. And Shawshank Redemption it's probably running on TBS right now. You turn it on right now. It's being run right now. Not my joke again. I stole it from Jason, but whatever. He's got to come on the podcast and defend himself if he wants.
And that was the year I just went, okay, I tap out. I'm tapping out. I'm done. This is no way. No, I'm done.
The only thing
I have not watched at all.
I got to admit, I did watch when Chris Rock was on there just because it was interesting to see, because that was when and it's still happening, but was it like there were absolutely no black people nominated that year for anything? I mean, not in Best Picture, not in Best Actor, not in Best.
Yeah, that was the
Actress.
Oscar So White year.
Yeah, and he was the host, and everybody was waiting to see how he was going to do it because he's very acidic in terms of his, or as I would call it, blunt. I did watch that, but after that, I work usually Sundays. The only thing I watch is I call it the death montage. Not so much because I'm morbid, and I am. I just like the remembering. Because so many times you forget these people passed away last year in March, February. Sure, we remember everybody who passed away in December. Plus all the people who passed away from behind the scenes. It just, to me, it was same thing with the Emmys. To me, that I prefer watching just so I remember these people one final time. Many people that I've enjoyed their work too.
See, for me, I watch the one that TCM does. It usually is It's usually better made. It covers more people, and I don't have to wade through 4 hours. I'm so old, I remember when the Oscars were on Mondays.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I'll probably go watch it on the YouTubes. I won't necessarily catch it live because, I got better things to do.
Like read comics.
Oh, absolutely. Although I haven't. You think I would have with all the snow we had. I would just sit down, I'd take my quart of chocolate soda, I'd walk in the closet, turn on the light, and read comic books.
Now, what chocolate soda do you drink, by the way?
Well, that was the problem. I don't have any chocolate soda, so I don't.
Now, when you had chocolate soda, what kind did you have?
I haven't drank chocolate soda since college.
I cannot find the world's greatest chocolate soda.
I wonder.
It's a Chicago thing. It's, what is it? Cadbury's chocolate fudge soda. And when it first came out, I was like, oh, I don't know, gross. But then I was at a party in college, and they had it there, and I grabbed a can, and wow, this stuff's really good. And then when I moved to Minnesota, I couldn't get it anymore.
No, I see Wolfram Chalk Sod out in Colorado Springs,
But
and
it's
a lot
Chicago
of
stuff.
A lot of recipes online, but no. I don't know. Maybe next time we go to Blue Soda Sun Shop up there, we should ask them about chocolate soda. I don't recall running across any. Of course, I usually spend all the time in the diet section because being diabetic, it just works for me.
Yeah, I'm actually looking it up here.
And of course, we've been
Canfield's
looking.
Diet Chocolate, and it's $28.18 on Amazon for a case. Free shipping. I might just order me some.
Yep.
Free shipping.
What a chocolate fudge.
Oh,
yep, there it is.
Yeah, it's
cans.
4 6-packs.
There's fresh cocoa fizz chocolate soda from Soda Emporium.
No. You want the Canfields. The Canfields is the good stuff.
I don't want any of it because there's some things I just had to give up.
Fine, be that way. So you haven't read any comics. Have you been reading the news about the comics?
Well, I did catch something, and I think you did too. And apparently DC's going to have the new 22.
That's a rumor. It's
but
rumor.
It came from Rich Johnson, and he's usually pretty sharp.
But I wanted to point out some other stuff I've been reading about DC. They canceled more books, by the way.
Oh, by the way, Dan Diadil denied the whole DC 22 thing.
Well, I know they're making a big announcement soon at Comics Pro, at the big comic retailers thing run by Comics Pro. But I wanted to talk about they've canceled more trade paperbacks, including one that I'd ordered, the second DC Hanna-Barbera book.
What's that cover?
It's the second round of the team-ups between DC characters and Hanna-Barbera characters.
Oh, yeah. And, that sucks because I didn't order it, but it was one that I was looking to buy.
Because the first one, the Elmer Fudd Batman story, you're going to look at me funny when I say this. That was amazing, and everybody needs to read it. If you're a Batman fan, you need to read the Batman Elmer Fudd story. And Tom King said that in an upcoming issue of Batman, it is a sequel to that story, even though they can't use Elmer Fudd anymore. So, but DC's just...
Brother, but they must have licensed it from whoever owns the Warner Brothers.
Well, what it is, Warner Brothers kind of came down and said, yeah, we're ending all the Warner Brothers comics. So that's why the Snoopy Apocalypse died. They wrapped that up pretty quick with, I think it was issue 36. No word yet, but it sounds like the Scooby-Doo comics are dead. And those have been going forever.
That is, we've talked in the past about how Time Warner is a vertical company, not a horizontal company. And I guess the bottom line, and you might know this because you follow the sales more than I do. I mean, were these selling? Were they making money, or are they just leaving money on the table and just canceling everything?
It is really hard to say because there's the Looney Tunes comic, and that comic
has been going forever.
It's been going forever, and what the Looney Tunes comic does, they don't create any new stories for it at DC. in the U.S. These are foreign they're done for the foreign market, and they just translate them and put it out here in the U.S. And, in comic shops, it doesn't sell real well, and because, kids' comics don't sell real well in comic shops. And they don't collect it in trades. But from everything I've heard, it's okay, here's another way to squeeze a few dollars out of this. But all the Warner Brothers stuff, all the Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers classic characters, DC was told they can't use them anymore.
And was there a reason why, or just you can't use them?
They were just told you can't use them. The rumor was that somebody read the Snagglepuss thing and didn't like it, but I think that's just stupid, because all that stuff goes through tons of layers of corporate whatever. I think it's more.
Then again, aren't they coming back with the Hair Bear Bunch as a horror title?
Yeah, but that's not Hanna-Barbera or
No,
and it's the Banana Splits.
Banana Splits.
And that's owned by Croft.
Oh, okay. So maybe
Banana Splits were Croft.
Oh, okay.
But I'm wondering if this, all the Cartoon Network stuff went over to IDW. Maybe this is another case of, hey, we're going to license it out. Maybe we'll get a little extra money for licensing rather than
probably
producing.
Exactly what it is. Because when you take money from another corporation that's parent or a part of your group, you're not really making money. You're just shuffling money around.
Right.
And, I talked about that, at least I think I did, when I worked at Sears. There was always a big thing about, well, people would return something defective. Well, do we destroy it or do we have it fixed? Well, the repair department always wants it fixed, because then they charge back the television department at that particular store. So when they get the TV back, it's up to them to sell that refurbished television at enough money to cover everything. And I just thought it was ridiculous, because it was kind of like, we spend more money trying to take money out of other people's other
budgets,
corporate entities. Yeah, budgets. I was going to say pockets, but you're not making money. You're just shifting it. So, and that's actually something I had down on my list when I started thinking about the new 5022 that allegedly is coming our way. Maybe that's what DC, well, definitely Time Warner, is doing. I mean, we've marveled constantly about Marvel. Ironically, they're doing the was it Marvel Action at IDW, which I still cannot find issue number 2 of the Spider-Man one. I find 1. I don't know if 2 hasn't shipped yet, but I see like issue 3 of Fantastic Four or Avengers or something out. So either it's selling out, or comic shops are just selling out and they don't care to reorder it. I don't know. But then there's Star Wars all over the place. The Disney properties are being in different spots in the previews catalog. And even the Marvel, what you call it, Reimage line, where they did the Haunted House or Space Mountain, whatever, they kind of dropped all that. You make more money licensing the product. And that's just the way it works. So maybe we might see a kids DC at IDW or Boom or somewhere else, as opposed to Marvel or DC trying to make an all friendly line. Since obviously, and this gets into another topic that we can cover a little bit. Maybe the direct market is not the best place for these particular books.
Well, and there are 2 other things, especially, and I'm going to bring this up with Warner Communication. They're no longer Time Warner, by the way. It's Warner Communication.
It's not my fault they can't figure it out. Just call it AT&T. It will be good.
Well, they spun Time off because Time was losing money.
Yes.
So when WCW...
that should be in a fortune cookie. Time is losing money.
When WCW was with Time Warner, they were a cost for a while, but then they made tons of money. And when their ratings were high, none of that money was counted to WCW, the wrestling entity. Even though, okay, here's this wrestling entity, people are buying ads on it. Nope, that money goes to TNT. It goes to the television division. Well, they're buying ads on the wrestling, and you're getting the wrestling for free from our department. Doesn't matter. So when you license something out, let's say they do. Warner Brothers goes to IDW and says, "We want you to do Looney Tunes cartoon comics." Great. IDW pays a license fee, and then there's usually some sort of profit sharing. So for every one we sell, you get this percentage. So there's a license fee, and then that on top of it, which is why for a lot of companies, the licensed books, when they start selling poorly, at least at Marvel, at DC, they would cancel them at higher sales than other books had because they cost more to make. And it's also why they would put new talent or older talent, the people who don't cost a lot. But if you send it over to IDW, IDW has all the costs and they give you money. Whereas if DC's doing it, all right, yeah, you get all the money, but you also have all of the costs. You have the editorial cost, you have the creator cost, you have the getting it to the stores, you've got all of the distribution stuff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of accounting there. Or let's say you're a vice president and you go, wow, that's, that takes up a lot of work. That's a lot of HR. And this company over here, they'll just give us money to use this license. You're going to go to that other company to use that license. So you can go to, your boss and go, see, look at the costs I cut. That's, corporations think quarter to quarter. And if you can cut your costs, if your sales aren't going up, you got to cut your costs because you have to show more profit every quarter. So, hey, you know what? Cancel all these Hanna-Barbera books. Does Dark Horse want them? Does Boom want them? Does Dynamite want them? Does, some new company want them? Make them pay us. Therefore, we have no costs and all profit.
Which is something which in the 90s escaped Marvel, because Marvel went through a whole thing where they thought, hey, if we bring in all this stuff rather than, sharing money with Toy Biz and who is it, Skybox, Panini, they bought all these companies and thought that they'd bring it in the house and that way they would reap all the money. And what they did, in fact, was they not only overspent tremendously for these companies, but then they lost all the licensing that they would have been getting. And it wasn't long before they shut down Toy Biz and then turned around and started marketing to, was it Mattel or Hasbro? I forget who did that really kick-ass Marvel line afterwards.
Yeah, I don't.
Marvel Legends.
I didn't follow the toy business, but I will say the other thing that Marvel did that killed them in the 90s was they bought high and sold low.
Oh.
They bought Fleer at the peak of the baseball card boom. 2 years later, after the baseball strike, baseball cards were dead. And now they have a baseball card company. They have 2 baseball card companies. Oh, wait, no, they have 3 baseball card companies. Well, you bought it, I think, if I remember right, they bought Fleer at around $600 million and sold it for 20-some million. And you wonder why they went bankrupt.
Yeah. I think it was Hasbro that got the license afterwards.
And there is an economy of scale where if you own it, it is easier because you control it all. That Disney does that. Disney licensed stuff out, but there's a lot that they control. And it depends on the business and how well they are in the business. One of the things, the reason why Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars was because they looked at their properties. Okay, with ESPN and all that, we have young men. With this, we have kids age up to 8. We have girls through this. There was one demographic they didn't have, and that was boys age 8 to 16. So they looked at the market, because remember, we were shocked when Marvel got sold. We didn't know they were up for sale. Disney went to Marvel and said, we want you because you target boys age 8 to 16. And then when Lucas was looking around to kind of
Which is,
retire,
if it's taken out of context, will deny we ever said it.
and they went, oh, Star Wars appeals to those young boys as well. That's a demographic that, Marvel has. We can double our demographic with that. We can control that demographic. Boom, there you go. What they didn't know is that they would be starting their own streaming service. And now, not a week goes by, I don't hear about a new Star Wars or a new Marvel thing they're doing for Disney Plus.
Yeah, and in the other side of that coin, we're listening to Netflix cancel everything because that's all going away.
Well, there are a bunch of reasons for that.
Oh, yeah.
The first is Netflix does not need them anymore.
Although
it's hard for us to remember
that who would argue otherwise, because their whole argument is that Netflix is spending way too much money now producing stuff. But
here's the difference. When Netflix got the Marvel deal, they didn't have very many series. They had, I think, at the time, they had just 2 or 3 series. They just had House of Cards, Marco Polo, which was terrible, and I don't even know if they had another series. So with Marvel, boom, they've got new series. They have a powerful partner. They've got characters that are doing well. Basically it's, the Marvel movies do well. We get the Marvel movies, so we'll have the TV shows. And they produced over 160 episodes for Netflix among all the series. But they're also now, they're paying a huge license fee to Disney for them. And again, are you going to pay a license fee on stuff you don't own? Or are you going to pay a license fee and create it yourself and own it forever? When you get that boom at the beginning of the series, that means Netflix owns it. 20 years from now, you'll be able to watch Santa Clara Diet, House of Cards, and Disenchanted because Netflix owns them. All the talk about how those series are moving, in 2021 they can move over to another streaming service. It's because they don't own those. And why would you pour money into something you don't own? Speaking of that, we wandered away from comics. DC,
well, not really, because the big thing is that we forget that a lot of the comics are owned by big corporations. And it brings back to the fact, the little offshoot that I said that we didn't really go down. Are these guys losing faith in the direct market? Is somebody come down the pike and done what I've always suspected they do all these years and go, wait a minute, you guys are telling me your sole sales are based on these 3,000 stores that we have absolutely no leverage over, 3,000 stores that are dropping, and that's the only people you sell to? Hence,
or they can look and say, Wonder Woman, wow, this movie made $700 million. How many copies does the comic sell? 40,000.
Well, somebody I think is looking closer, especially at DC, because as long as were making money, they were pretty much, I don't know, we've heard the story about how when Ted Turner came in and walked into DC's office and said, okay, I want you sign over the rights for Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman immediately so that we may properly exploit them in his area. And he was basically told to buzzer off. And the rest of, at that time, Time Warner, AOL supported him because DC was making money. Is DC making money? We don't know.
Well, and if they do cut back, and I'm, the new 22, I don't know if I think that's valid, but I will tell you, I've seen the DC solicitations for next month. They're printing fewer books. And if you look over the last 6 months, they're printing fewer books every month. At the peak of the new 52, among all the product lines. They were publishing around 100 comics a month. They're now down to about between 50 and 60. And that's with Vertigo and the kids' books and the Brian Michael Bendis line and all the other lines that they've created. Their output is dropping. And more the books that are coming out bi-weekly, they're going to monthly. All the Superman books were bi-weekly. Bendis comes on, they're monthly now. Aquaman, it's monthly now. I think the only ones that still are really hardcore on the bi-weekly are Batman, the Batman stuff, Flash, and maybe Justice League, but I'm not 100% sure. And one of the things that I've said for years is you got to cut the output. There's too many books out there. And retailers are saying now that DC's putting out fewer books, their sales per book is going up.
Which is something we've always thought. I mean, especially during the X-Men craze, where it was like, there are 552 X-Men books. Hey, Avengers sells good. Let's make 553 Avenger books. Although the difference being, and this was mostly Bendis, if you read these, they flow into each other and out of each other. For a while, Dark Avengers was there, where they had a story cap going. Mighty Avengers, maybe not as much, but it definitely was taking up some slack. The question being, did they need to be in their own books, or could they just have kept going, especially now with the return of legacy numbering? Should they just had them in the regular Avenger books? But, it worked. Yeah, it's a collecting, reading, logistical nightmare. New Avengers, and then Mighty Avengers, and then, what was that?
Ready for things to get really nuts at Marvel, Joe?
It's almost like the realms are at war.
In May, if you want to buy all the War of the Realms books at Marvel in May, that's the upcoming previews, $110.
Well, it'll take a little extra time on the eBays, but nope, not doing it.
So if DC starts cutting the number of books they're putting out, let's say you're a retailer, you're selling 100 issues of Batman and 75 of the Superman books and 75 of Justice League, and everything else is piddling around between 30 and 40. And they get rid of the books that are selling, 20 and 30 copies. Do you think that the readers will move more toward the books that are coming out, or will they just go, oh, thank God I can save some money?
In my opinion, they're just going to go, hey, I'm saving money. Because I don't see anybody, especially it was a weird phenomenon, at least when I had to shop. And again, this was in the 90s, so take it for what it's worth. People were looking for reasons to drop books. And back then, you didn't have this craze where, this team's over, we're going to start over with another number one. Or we have this whole big mega event where we come back, everything starts again at a number one. People just looked for reasons to drop books. Oh, look, Rob McFarlane's doing Teen Titans. Okay, I'm not going to buy those issues. And true story, I just, whatever.
It was Rob Liefeld, not Rob McFarlane.
It's all the same. Rob McFarlane, Mark Valentino, Jim Silvestri. It all is a big blur when it goes back to the 90s. But, people just were looking to drop books. Nobody would see, and, the big one, of course, is the famous Thanos Quest stories, where people were digging the Silver Surfer, but no one wanted to buy this book until it was too late and it was a $20 back issue. And I was even telling people, this ties into Infinity Gauntlet. What's coming. Ugh. And I don't know what it's like now if people are looking to drop things or buy things.
Well, there's what they call normal attrition. If a book, even with the same creative team, nothing changes, loses about 2% a month. And it's been going on so long that it's how everyone in the industry sees comics. You get a big buck. That's why you'll see a book that comes out at number 1. They have the math to tell you what it will be selling by issue 12. So they will tell the creative team, even before issue 1 comes out, we've got orders for this much. You're going to be able to do this many issues. Because I read on Black Bolt, the writer on that was told, like within a week of issue 1 coming out, you're going to be able to get 12 issues. So 2 story arcs. At DC, that number's lower because their number 1s don't go insane like Marvel's. Marvel's number 1s go insane. DC's kind of just, they come out and they do okay. The other thing that I think may have a part of this, and I've been talking about it with other people, the DC Walmart books. I went Sunday, picked up, they have 6 of them now. And boy, by the way, if you get near Walmart, Flash number 1, that Flash story, the new Flash story, is a 12-pager written by Gail Simone. That's some of the best Flash stuff I've read in years. That's
I will mention
comic
to the Target line that's coming out with whatever the name of the heroes are. That comic, I saw that in a Target the other day. I was actually going to go buy it and bring it for a review purpose, but all the copies I saw were just beat to hell. Like someone just, I don't know what they did. Like, oh, we're supposed to sell these, not fold them and throw them away when we put the toys out. So, well, anyways,
when I found it, they didn't have it. They were just right on the shelf. They'd just taken, there was one left and it was just laying on a shelf. It wasn't in a box. It wasn't in anything. It was just, somebody had laid it down.
Yeah, no, this had the full end cap treatment with all the toys there. And it'd be interesting to see how the line does, because I'm not big on toys anymore and I don't know who they're aiming this at. And the fact that it was on an end cap away from the rest of the action figures, I thought was kind of telling too. It's a main end cap, so it's, people are going from here to there and going to pass it. But if you're trying to buy a Batman or Wonder Woman figure for your kid, this ain't necessarily where you're going to be buying it. Yeah. Again, they must have something going behind it because Target ain't going to spend a whole end cap on these figures. The point being just is if it'd be interesting to see if this comic goes as crazy as the other one. I personally would have bought it, like I said, had they not been all hacked up. Investment purpose, who knows? Maybe 20 years from now we'll be going, remember when they had that exclusive toy line at Walmart based on the Marvel DC characters? My question, though, and again, this kind of short circuits where we were going, are these stories going to be in trades eventually, or are they just, is that a dead issue?
They have said that the Tom King and Brian Michael Bendis stories will be collected in trades when they're done. But the 1 and 2 parters, like Superman before Tom King came on, had a 2-parter. I don't know if they're going to collect that anywhere. I don't know how long this Gail Simone story is going to be. I don't know if it'll be collected. But there are 2 things about this that I realized over the weekend. The first is when I read something from DiDio when he was, he was doing an interview with the business, with the comics business side. And he talked about how the Walmart books surprised them. There were not as many returns as they thought they would be. They had budgeted for a certain number of returns. And he said that the sell-through is much higher than they thought it would be. And that's why they got the green light for 2 new series. And if they continue to do well, there may be more.
And I'm always curious, and if you ever see anything, we'll have to talk about it. Are these you and me going into buying these, or are these actually getting to new people?
It's hard to say.
I would suspect you're not getting any new people. I would suspect you're picking up on fanboys that'll wander in and buy them.
I'm not sure, because the other thing, because I picked up my 6, and when I was reading them, I saw, here are the reprints. They've got reprints of stuff going back almost 20 years because they're reprinting Hush. They're reprinting, some pre-New 52 stuff. And first off, I felt very old because New 52 started 8 years ago, Joe. Do you remember that? It started in 2011?
I actually do, and it's only because I finally got all my Superman in one place.
8 years.
I know.
But the other thing that I noticed, and this was me thinking after reading, because we've both read the comic book Implosion. They've got thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of comics from the last 20 years that only 30 to 40,000 people have read. That means there's all these Batman stories, all these Superman stories, Flash stories, Green Lantern stories, Justice League stories, on down the line that were read by a very small audience. That means they've got thousands of pages of comics that could be repurposed for new readers, which is pretty much what these 100-page books are. They're repurposing comics for new readers. And now you're a corporation and you go, look at all these pages we've got. Look at all these stories we've got that most people have not read. Why do we need to keep making more? Much like when Martin Goodman came down to the Marvel offices in 1949 and opened up Stan's storage closet and saw all the stories that had been done but hadn't been used yet. And he looked it over. It's like, wow, we got like almost 6 months worth of comics here. Fire everybody and use up the inventory. How long till some vice president looks at DC and says, well, you know what? The Batman books do pretty well. Superman books do pretty well. The Justice League and this new Brian Michael Bendis Young Justice Wonder Comics, those do pretty well. Everything else doesn't do well. Just reprint old stuff. We've always paid for it.
I'm not sure if that's going to work because, again, it's not a horizontal company. I don't know. It'd have to come from way, way high up and I don't see somebody at that high a level in the corporation going down to such a small level to, hand down the edict that, okay, you're going to have to cut new stuff and just do old ones. Mainly because I don't think that person would be smart enough to know the days ins and day out, nor at that level would they want to learn. It's like, I'm going down to DC for a while, figure out how they learn, maybe figure out a way to cut. They might come back and do what they're doing now. Guys, you got to cut your output. And
but they could also go, you know what? GameStop wants comics, Walmart wants comics, Target wants comics.
That would have nothing to do
boom.
with the day-to-day.
Don't make any new stuff. Just use the old stuff.
It won't happen because that's just not the way it works. Walmart books have new stuff in them. The Target books have new stuff, but it's new. That's the point. You're hooked into a corporate world, and I don't know how big your corporation are. I just don't see somebody at that level of responsibility knowing the ins and outs of DC Comics, nor caring. I don't see them coming down and saying, okay, stop making all new stuff in order to deal with the old stuff. They will come down and they'll say, hey, GameStop wants something like you're doing for Walmart. Make it so. They won't care. I don't think anybody in the upper echelon of Warner, what the hell are they call now? I got to learn how to call
Warner
them.
Communication.
I don't think anybody in the higher echelon of Warner Communications knows that the Walmart books are 14 pages of new stuff and a bunch of old stuff. All they know is, like what you're saying, the return rate is less than they expected, and they're excited about it. It was probably a major pulling teeth to get Walmart and them together in the first place. So, but yeah, I don't see them caring about the minutia.
It could be, however, that they say, here's your budget. And the people at DC are like, well, nobody's going to work for that.
We'll do reprint. Okay, yeah, that's more plausible.
I can't. You're right. They're not going to come down but they are going to say, you've got all this inventory. Repurpose it.
They can put. Look at what we're doing with the omnibuses and with the hardcovers and with all these other. So yeah, I mean, and to the point of even last month, I mean, I was talking. They had more, or almost more graphic novels I ordered than individual comics from DC. And I had to do the budget crunch. I did not order the Lucifer omnibus. So when it comes out and I start bitching that I didn't order it, just remind me I did this. Matter of fact, just isolate this audio and replay it in my face because I just didn't do it. And again, as a comic retailer, am I concerned? Well, yes and no. I mean, the fact that my guys are going to Walmart and buying these books when they could be spending money in my shop, that's a concern. But as we've talked about before, and we were talking episodes ago, just because they make it available to a comic store doesn't necessarily mean they're going to order it.
Yeah.
Even back when I had the shop, there were plenty of times where, oh, you're not making this available to us? Okay, you're right. Sorry, here it's available. Oh, well, we don't want it.
Yeah. Well,
I'm actually excited to see if it actually can keep DC afloat and making the comics I want to buy, that I'll buy again through Discount Comic Book Service or go down to the source or whoever and buy them. Yeah, I'm keen on that one.
And the other thing about repurposing, I talked about it a long time ago, but I haven't talked about it in a while. More and more of your cable channels are just repurposing. There's a MTV Classic, which used to be VH1 Classic. They have, I believe, 5 employees because what it is, Warner Communication went, we have all this inventory. We have all these TV shows and all this other stuff. And we can get another channel. So they just program their older stuff. Somebody sets it up for the month. You have a couple people who do all the tech work. And they don't even need separate ad people. It's just, by the way, if you buy ads on MTV, you'll also get ads here, here, and here for this price. Or the example I always use, Turner Classic Movies, my favorite cable channel. The reason it came about is Ted Turner had bought up all these old movies for the TBS.
And they thought he was mad. Mad, I tell you.
Well, at the time, it's like, okay, they've run on TV forever. Nobody cares anymore. They run them on your local TV channel in the afternoon. Nobody's watching because it's been on 100 times and blah, 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 blah. So what he did, okay, I own the rights to all of these movies. Here we go. I'm going to create a channel, Turner Classic Movies. Here you go. Here's the programming. They own all of the movies being run on that channel. So every penny that comes in, and most of them have been around so long, they don't have to pay any royalties to people. It's not like the Three Stooges are getting any goddamn royalties. They just program it. Boom, there you go. Oh, and it's on a higher tier. So everybody who has Turner Classic Movies is paying their cable company about $1.50 to have that channel. Let's say 10 million people. That's $10.5 million every month. Well, it's more like 60 to 70 million. Boom. That's, if you could just repurpose, you get tons of money. And if you look, more and more channels, logo. Used to be, we're the program for, for basically this is programming aimed at gay people. Now you look at it and it's, okay, there's the Golden Girls and it's all sitcoms and everything that's owned by the corporate partner. Independent Film Channel. What's showing on Independent Film Channel? Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters 2. What's showing on Sundance? MASH. All of these
And
cable
there's
channels
times
are
too,
just repurposing old stuff.
and there's
How long
times
till
too,
somebody at Warner Communication comes and says, just repurpose the old stuff?
and
It's
there's
cheap.
times
We
too
own
where
it.
even when they get together, like BBC America decided we're going to make our own thing. Everything's in house. Well, now Monty Python's back on Netflix and Doctor Who's on Amazon Prime. Again, they lose that licensing. There are still people that are probably buying the streaming BBC to get all this stuff and get it first. But eventually they repurpose it. They're like, you know what? People aren't watching Monty Python on our thing. Netflix wants it. Let's give it to them for a year or whatever.
The other thing about BBC America, it's not owned by the BBC. It's owned by AMC. They just bought the branding from the BBC. They only get a couple shows from the BBC. Most of it, if you turn on BBC America right now, I guarantee there's a Star Trek show on.
Time Warner, or I should say Paramount hasn't, put the lid on that one. They're like all Star Trek all the time. But what are they working on? 4 new shows?
Yeah.
Pretty soon there's just going to be a Star Trek network.
Well, I tell you, there already is. There already is one of the over-the-air networks, one of those digital networks. I forget which one it is, but it's okay. At 6 o'clock, it's Star Trek: The Original Series. At 7 o'clock is Next Generation. At 8 o'clock, it's Deep Space Nine. 9 o'clock, it's Voyager.
Does that on Friday. They must stream that from these guys and just put it over the antenna. It's like a high definition television or whatever.
Yeah, one of
those.
Then
they do superhero Saturdays, where Batman and America's Greatest Hero or whatever the heck that
Wonder
was.
Woman.
Believe it or not, Wonder Woman. No Spider-Man though.
But they're repurposing the old stuff because why? We own it. And even if, let's say, one of those channels, even if only 10% of the available audience for those channels watches it, that's still 20 million people. That's still enough to sell your ads.
So the bottom line is these people are learning a lot from when Marvel used to flood the market with reprints way back in the 70s. What's old is new again.
Well, look at the stuff we buy. We're buying mostly reprints, Joe.
I know. And a lot of it, too, is like when I get on our previews, it's like, I'm buying this. Why? Because I don't have it in my collection and I would like to read it. Even if I've discovered that when I reread something that I haven't read in ages, it's like I forgot about a lot of it. Yeah. Even though I still got the impression on it. So, sadly, though, there's one that we probably won't ever see free from the legal morass it's in, at least for now.
Micronauts?
Babylon 5.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm on a Facebook page where they're constantly talking about reboots, which I don't think for Babylon 5 would work. Have you watched Babylon 5?
I watched the pilot and could not make it.
Oh, again, like our Star Trek argument, if you ever want to really get into it, I'll show you which ones to watch.
Oh, I know.
And then go forward. And if you ever go back, you'll discover, he dropped all these clues. The point is the big thing with Babylon 5 was the reveal, the big secret. You can go to any Wikipedia page and have it ruined for you. To reboot that, it's like, we're going to remake Predator. Why? The big thing in the Predator movie was the reveal of the Predator. Big thing, same thing in Alien. Aliens work because we were so terrified of Alien. Okay, let's give you a whole freaking planet of aliens. After that, it's like, you're just, how are you going to change it and make it different? Problem with Babylon 5, though, with the collapse of the PETN network, which was kind of a Warner Brothers type syndication, not really owned by them, but sort of influenced by them. And, somebody's got to spend a lot of money, like they did with Miracle Man, and sort it out in order to make it work. And even then, it's like, well, what are we going to do with it? Reboot it? A lot of the original cast members have passed on. Actually, Miracle Man might not have been a good example. Or maybe it was too good because we don't see no Miracle Man in the catalog.
Yeah, nobody can give me a good answer on, aren't these already done? Aren't they? Yeah. and they were solicited and then pulled at the last minute, and then nothing. Crickets. But you know who does get their stuff out to people?
Well, I know Shamrock Shakes are back, so McDonald's.
And these guys, our sponsors. That's right, here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, KRAYZ, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You could get them weekly. You could get them bi-weekly. You could get them monthly. You could just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that will record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks.
Oops, sorry. I had to slam down the shake between the sponsors.
There's also somebody else who makes sure that you get stuff. Tons of podcasts all the time here on the Solitaire Rose Network. Just listen. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network has all sorts of podcasts. We've got Scrabbling Across the West with Dave Cafell and his lovely bride, Stephanie. They travel across the country playing musical gigs, and at night they sit down to play Scrabble and talk about their day at scrabbling.solitairerose.com. There's Novelcast over at novels.solitairerose.com, where I take the novels that I've written and turn them into audio podcasts. Currently, we are doing a novel called Do the Job, which is a murder mystery set in the world of 1980s professional wrestling. Then over at badadvice.solitairerose.com, me, Cory Strode, and Wolfie B. Bad, along with Dan Moore, give bad advice to people who send in questions. That's bad advice over at badadvice.solitairerose.com. The Solitaire Rose Radio Network is growing. Be there! You think NBC will get mad I used that? And now that I've gotten all my plugs out of the way, it's time for Joe to do his favorite part of the show. No, not where he sits down and colors strawberry shortcake on the carpeting.
No, I take the old comics and put Silly Putty on them and peel them off. Look at that face.
It's Joe. What's going on the eBays?
Did I talk about the Ronald McDonald comic?
I have vague memories of a Ronald McDonald comic, but I know you haven't talked about it in the last few episodes.
Because the big thing with it, and I've got one on the eBays, is there's two Ronald McDonald comics, and when you're going to buy them, the first one is just it came from Carlton, and if you excuse me a second as I whip this out,
Woo!
It was Carlton, again, another company that must have just in the 70s exist to license things. Because I mentioned the Tiger comic book from a couple episodes ago that was 6 issues. This one was only 4. And there's 2 types available. There's the regular one that was probably on the newsstand, and then there was the promotional ones they gave away at McDonald's. The only way to tell the difference, one will say not for resale on it on the bottom. If you want to hang on a second, I got to just confirm that since the Ronald McDonald.
I would like to say that I'm very upset that the characters from the Ronald McDonald universe, they don't use them in commercials anymore. You don't hear about Fry Guys. You don't hear
Nope.
about Mayor McCheese. You don't
Never
hear
will.
about Officer Big Mac. You don't
Yep.
hear about the Hamburgler. And
They're
what the
dead, Jim.
fuck was up with the Grimace?
Yep, we'll never know. So if you see the words "not for resale" on your Ronald McDonald comic, and again, there's only 4 of them, that was one of those that they gave away in-house. It still has a price and everything on it. You just know that's it. So you got 2 variants to pick up, because we all know how hot you are for variant covers. And I know Cory knows why there is no McDonald's Grimace or Hamburglar or Mayor McCheese anymore.
No, I don't.
You don't?
They still have pictures of them.
Did you know when McDonald's went to Sid and Marty Krofft to talk to them about making characters for their restaurants, Sid and Marty Krofft went to work and they did it. And then all of a sudden McDonald's said, we're not going to pursue this anymore. And we're going to stop. Guess what debuted shortly after that?
The Bugaloos?
Nope. You're thinking in the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. I'm talking in the world of Ronald McDonald.
That's when all the McDonald Land characters showed up.
Yep. Hamburglar, Mayor McCheese, the Grimace, the
Officer Big Mac.
Big Mac, that was his name. Oh, and you know what Sid and Marty Krofft did?
Sued the shit out of them.
And did you know what they've done that a lot of people haven't done against McDonald's?
They won,
which is why it all disappeared. Because
they still have pictures of them on the Happy Meals boxes and bags.
Occasionally they'll have them, but you cannot deny there's a resemblance between any of those old McDonald's.
Oh yeah, they all look like
and
Sid Marty
Puffin
Krofft
stuff.
characters.
Yeah, and believe me, Sid and Marty Krofft. That's why there are none of them in existence anymore.
Oh.
And of course, McDonald's would never ever, license them or admit to doing it, or heck, they should bring them back for nostalgia's sake. But yeah, those characters are kaput because Ronald McDonald basically got his butt kicked by Sid and Marty Krofft. The Bugaloos came in and did some strategic bombing and just took care of them.
And banished them to Lidsville.
Pretty much, which is why you can see those collectibles out there on the eBays for tons and tons of money. But the other thing, the question is, have you seen the price of Darkhawk #1?
No. You're going to scare me, aren't you?
It's people are asking like $20 to $50 for this thing. Oh, there was a thing online where they were talking about a group, and this was a group that was kind of dedicated to just talking about what comics they thought would go up. And somebody decided, hey, Darkhawk is how old is that comic? Hang on a second, anytime I pause here, I'm using the one of
Darkhawk is 26, 27 years old because it came out. First issue came out in 90 or 91.
91.
So it's almost 30 years old. Oh, yep. God.
So somebody came up with the idea that, oh my God, it's that old. And even now I'm looking on Atomic Avenue and they have 2 copies. Cheapest one, $17.95. I'm not even going to look at the eBays. Now, the person that brought up this thread said on this particular thread, they were all talking about how cheap this book was a couple years ago. And then all of a sudden the price went up. And because the demand probably artificially got increased and people wanted it and comic stores owners noticed it. And all of a sudden it all disappeared because #1 is like $17. #2 is a whopping 75 cents.
Yeah.
And as I'm reading through this whole thing, they're saying, yeah, first appearance of Darkhawk, but Darkhawk hasn't done anything.
No, they brought Darkhawk back in the Infinity Wars, and he was also in that knockoff of the knockoff of the Hunger Games that Marvel did, the Avengers. The Avengers thing where they're all being hunted by arcade.
If you say Darkhawk, he's not like saying Deadpool.
Yeah.
And somebody even pointed out there's no reason why New Mutants 98 should be that expensive because there were lots printed. It's not a rare book. Like if you start going back into the Silver Age or the Golden Age, there are plenty of copies still around. It's just whoever has them is hoarding them. And so the whole question is,
how many people have them in a box somewhere that they haven't opened?
Yeah.
Because, it's a 90s Marvel.
And even that's a good example because it's like 90. That one is now like a $400 or $500 book, whereas the second appearance in X-Force 2 is, again, 75 cents.
Yeah.
Even current ones, like I talked about, that I've bragged about selling, the Avenging Spider-Man number 10, the first time Ms. Marvel, Carol Danvers, referred to herself as Captain Marvel, upwards of $300. Edge of Spider-Verse number 5, is it? First Spider-Woman, now Spider-Gwen or whatever.
Ghost Spider,
whatever they want to call her. We know who she is. There's like 7 printings of that book out there. So it's just weird what goes up on the eBays. And now I've got myself thinking here. Let's take a look. Darkhawk number 1, search. And one of the things I like to do is so remember, Darkhawk is 2 words, not 1. Although sometimes you can find people who misspell things by putting in a misspelling, and these people wonder, why isn't nobody buying my stuff? That's because when you put it in the proper way, which is Darkhawk, which is basically 1 word. The hell does eBay know? Anyways, let's take a look. So you get it in there and then put price plus shipping lowest first. Let's see. Right now, somebody's at an auction got Darkhawk starting at 99 cents. Let's see if I can find the lowest bid. Now, the other thing you do is over in the side where it says search, you have where it says advanced. You click on that, and now you can refine your search. You can exclude words from search because a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of Darkhawks up because a lot of people say this is the first print, as if they reprinted tons of Darkhawks, but they didn't. But you put your keyword in, Darkhawk number 1, and then there's a click down window. You can go all words, any order, any words, any order, exact words, any order. What I'm doing is exact words, exact orders. I only want to see Darkhawk number 1. It's not foolproof, but it's better than most. So here we're talking, there's 210 results, and for some reason, and none of them are, they're the infinity countdown. So see, you're not getting what you're looking for. So you got to play with it sometimes. I'm going to try this one more time. Darkhawk number 1, exact word, exact order. Put it as a single word, the way it's meant to be. And there's a guy with a fine one for $2.69. I should probably go in and get rid of Infinity because now I'm seeing a lot of Infinity Darkhawk. Here's another one, $6.50, low grade. Here's one very fine, $10. It's going up. And it's like, after that, it explodes and just keeps going higher and higher. The first near mint one I see guys asking for about $15. So is it worth it? Well, basically you decide what it's worth because, one of the things I love doing on my eBays is pricing things low. Heck, I even just sold a Caliber Press 1994 catalog, which if you ever get a chance to read is amazing. Just all the stuff Caliber Press was selling. Lithographs, Disney prints, comics, different giveaways. Boy, if you'd have bought one of everything back in 94, you probably could retire off it now because none of that stuff is on. It's easy to find. Oh, by the way, I have another one on the eBays if you're interested. Krayz is where you can go. And again, if you're a fan of the show, you tell me so. I will, I've been prone to throw some freebies in the mix. And I got to tell you, I'm ripping through a lot of my collections, things that I haven't read. We talked earlier about the New 52 Superman. I think I bought it through 12 and then quit. It's going on eBays. So check it out. Buy some stuff. It's only a matter of time till I'm shut down again. No, not really. Hopefully we're not shut down again.
And now we get to my favorite part of the show. No, not where I do shots of bourbon from my Grendel shot glass. Although that is pretty enticing. No, it's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Well, I'm not freaking on this, but there's a place called Copper Cow out in your neck of the woods that make a beautiful bourbon shake with like a homemade fried donut and all sorts of good stuff on there. I mean, my blood sugar spiked just looking at it. So maybe we'll head there sometime. I'm not freaking on a lot. I'm still sore. This might be, hip watch is kind of winding down as a segment. I'm still sore, but I'm definitely not in the pain I was pre-surgery. So I'm getting around. I got to decide by end of next week, if I'm going back full time. I'm kind of leaning towards no, just because we had a couple bursts of activity where I was on my feet. One day I was on my feet for 3 hours straight. The next day, 2 hours straight. And I went home and I'm still in agony. Not crippling pain, but just, and I imagine, Cory, you probably know about this. Like when you overwork a muscle you haven't used in a while, it's like that type of pain where you're just like, oh, that's not good. I got to rest. And of course, in my case, resting doesn't necessarily help because I'm trying to keep it going. The physical therapists are working harder. I'm telling them, I lift like a comic box. It's only about 50 pounds. I try to carry it upstairs and I can tell I can't do it. And I had one therapist last week where she said, okay, do the leg lift you do. So I lifted it. Okay, now just lift it a couple inches. And I was like, I can't do it. So see, what's happening is your body is compensating using other muscles than the ones we're trying to get fixed. So instead of swinging your leg out all the way, just a little bit, work that little part that you've missed. So, I get discouraged, but then again, it's been only 10 weeks since I got sliced open. It took me months when I had my lung surgery back when I was 18. So I'm just not up to snuff yet. Sorry, Cory. I got nothing else to freak about. What are you freaking on?
I have a few things. Joe, do you remember the Max line and the Icon line from Marvel?
Yes. Well,
Max was their adult line.
Adult line,
and Icon was their creator-owned line. They have not solicited new books in that for a while. Tom Brevoort out on the Fire Breathing Twitter machine every so often, if he's like at an airport or waiting for a ride or something, will go, okay, guy, I've got some time, ask me questions. And I asked about those lines. Great. And he said there is nothing planned for them at all. Mm. So while they're not dead, they're certainly not alive. That disappoints me. First off, the Icon line, I thought it was a wonderful reward for the people who were with Marvel so that they could do creator-owned books. But it seems like it was basically, okay, it's for Brian Michael Bendis and Mike Miller. Now that they're gone, fuck it.
Yeah.
And the Max line had so many great books over the years, but it looks like they're just, we're just not gonna do that anymore, which is a shame.
Unless Garth Ennis comes back.
Yeah, but why would he?
They might fire it up for him. You never know. Sometimes these creators show up and they have an idea that only fits in this area. But again, like you said, why? Makes more money elsewhere.
Joe, we had snow last night.
Liar!
They plowed the streets last night.
They haven't done mine yet.
They plowed it so that I couldn't get out of my driveway for about 20 minutes while I dug the heavily packed snow.
Have I ever told you how much fun it is having four-wheel drive truck? Like when I went to go mail my eBay stuff today, I just slapped that four-wheel in and I basically was sliding through about 5 blocks of unplowed streets until I finally got to one that was plowed.
I will say one nice thing, though. When I came home, they're running out of places to put the snow, so they actually plowed my my little driveway and piled the snow in the yard. But that means I didn't have to shovel my driveway again.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll give a shout out to, because I had a neighbor that I went and I shoveled because I had to get out to my truck, the aforementioned eBay delivery. That, and I was out of chocolate milk. I need chocolate milk with my cereal. I refuse to be a barbarian without having any chocolate milk. Just not having it. Chocolate milk.
I thought it was chocolate milk.
This is my sense. My sense. I want chocolate milk. Well, I have 4-wheel drive, so I can pretty much get what I wanted. So I shoveled a little path, and by the time I got it done, I was like, okay, my hip's saying that was a bad idea. Fortunately, the neighbor not only you see my driveway. I've got a garage and then a little
Yeah.
piece of asphalt that goes into the alley. So I don't have a big driveway to plow. I don't have big sidewalks, but he came by and he plowed our sidewalks.
Well, that's very kind.
Driveway, which was nice. Well, and I'd have done the same because you gotta, these guys in their toys. I got this big ass snowblower and it's finally snowing and I gotta get out before anybody else shovels.
Joe, do you have the Netflix?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had to turn off my snowblower. What?
Do you have the Netflix?
I does.
Have you watched the documentary series Dirty Money?
It's on the list, but after I'm going to wait and see what you say about it.
I have watched the first 2 episodes, and I hate everybody in this show. The first one is about all the things VW did to defeat because they have to measure car emissions, and the lengths they went to defeat the car emissions testing. And all of the government people who were complicit in it, and on and on and on. And by the end of it, it's just I would never buy a Volkswagen ever again because everybody involved is a weasel. The next episode was about this payday loan company and how once they figured out this loophole that, they're not allowed to do certain things, but if they're owned by a Native American tribe, those laws do not apply. So the owner of this payday loan company basically went to a tribe and said, okay, you buy this company from us and we'll give you this much money every month and you're the owner. And it was basically kind of like Martin Goodman would do, shell corporation within a shell corporation within a shell corporation. And they go into detail about how these payday loans rip people off even worse than you thought. And they open with the guy who owned this company having all of his expensive race cars being repossessed. And he's whining and complaining that he was helping people and it's so terrible that the government is doing this. And his wife goes on and on about how unfair it is and how the government can do whatever they want. And then they go and they show all of the slimy things that he did. And by the end of it, you just want to go to his house and kick him in the shin until he dies. I'm almost scared to watch the next one because it's about the pharma bro. The Martin Shkreli who jacked the prices of medications by hundreds and hundreds of percents. But everybody involved in this just makes me angry. And it reminds me that, it's why we need government to watch over things. Because these are cases where the government kind of went, okay. And because they knew they weren't being watched, they just started ripping people off right and left. And it just makes me... It's a good thing we don't do a political podcast because I would be ranting and foaming at the mouth and raving.
I'm already way past that because that was my Facebook pages for years. Just saying, why are you so against corporations? Why are you going against that? And as soon as Citizens United passed, where Supreme Court said money equals free speech, well, guess what? I can almost guarantee everybody listening to this here podcast does not matter because none of us have the money to make it matter. Whereas the Koch brothers, the Soroses, they're the guys, we're going to get the best government they can buy. And same thing with the corporations.
And when it comes to where I watched this, I watched it at the gym. Joe, I'm lifting weights again. And you may say, Cory, why is this a freaking?
Well, if it's anything
I'll
like
give him his
snow
cue
shoveling. Cory, why is this a freaking?
Because after you lift weights and you haven't done it for a couple of years, oh my God, I am in so much pain. I was walking like Fred Sanford today my arms hurt, my legs hurt, my
Google
back.
it, kiddies. We can't explain all of our references to you.
And basically, I was walking around, and somebody said, "Are you okay?" Yeah, because anytime you move, it's so. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was part of the process. I know that in a month or so it won't happen anymore. But no, sir, I don't like it. And then the last thing, the reason we talked about DC so much,
because we like you.
Because DCB service every week. This book was canceled. This book is canceled. This book is canceled. This book is canceled. This book is canceled. DC, if you're not going to put out the book, quit soliciting it. Marvel rarely, if ever, cancels a solicitation. DC, they're doing it so much that when I get the new DC previews in a couple of weeks, I'm going to look at it and go, you know what, I may just wait and buy this used, or, off one of the sites that'll sell it for 45% rather than 55%, because I'm tired of paying for stuff, and then a month later, nope, it's not coming out. Joe?
Can I add on to your freaking?
Sure.
Because, what was the big omnibus? I was all excited that I was definitely going to buy. Amazing Spider-Man omnibus.
Yeah.
Wasn't offered this month.
Oh, really?
It was offered in November. They were just re-soliciting it. So when I went to go look for my line on my discount comic book thing, couldn't find it. And I finally picked up the Marvel previews. Oh, it's got a November order code. Sure, I can. Yeah, I know what I can do. But I'm like, you know what? If you're going to push it, put it on the goddamn form. There's so many times that happens, where I look for something and I can't find it, even though it's clearly in the previews catalog. This is just the latest of that. And my attitude is, screw it. I bought a couple extra copies of Avatar, and what they're blowing out at cheap old prices. Show you. Show you.
Let's show everybody by talking about what we're geeking about. Joe, what are you geeking on?
I don't normally geek on books that haven't been solicited, but I got kind of excited. Cory, out of these four, which one do you like the best? Red Sonja, Vampirella, Betty Cooper, or Veronica Lodge?
Well, you're going to have to give me some context.
Well, I won't have to give you everything. They're going to be in one comic.
Red
Sonja, Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica. I know. I don't know when it's coming out because, again, this is on one of those, we're going to pump this out sites because we got it first. They didn't even bother saying what month it's coming out on.
It'll be in the new previews.
It's got to be, because it's just, why else would you be pumping it right now? So I was actually kind of excited by that. It's published by Dynamite, so they'll probably have about 300 different variant covers, and some of them will probably be worth looking at, because hopefully they get some, you get Adam Hughes doing that. Hey, you got my money right there. Cory, I thought of a good way we can advertise this here podcast.
Oh,
because,
really?
we like, I'm constantly amazed by the fact that when Cory and I first started, we just did it and put it out there. Did we even do any promotion when we first started, or were we just kind of getting our legs and having fun with it?
We were having fun, and I'd mention it on Facebook. And this was back in the day. We would mention it on the MySpace.
Oh yeah, I mean that's how old we are. 8 years.
No, this podcast 9 years. Remember,
9 years.
In 2010, we are in our 9th year as of February.
Cool. Happy birthday to us. Well, I just happened to notice, and I know you got a car, right? I got a car. Well, some guy had all over his car, ibuyOldBeer.com. And I thought, that's pretty amazing. And when I went to ibuyOldBeer.com, it's basically a site where he is preserving the beers of yesteryear. Not only things like cans and bottles, but also Minnesota breweries. You can look at signs, you can look at openers, you can look at what beer was like during war. I don't know if he buys or sells. He does have a email and his phone number up. Matter of fact, let me just see what he's doing here. Let's see. Maybe we're in charge of cleaning out Grandpa's garage or basement. There's so much junk there you don't know where to start. Or during a remodeling job, you found a couple old beer cans dropped in drywall 60 years ago. Or your relative used to own a tavern, or he's passed down a few old signs to you, but you have zero interest in them. Sound familiar? Well, some call it junk, but to us, it's treasure. We'll pay fair, even stupid prices for beer-related advertising. Now, I'm not saying that Cory and I are necessarily selling a lot of stuff other than ourselves, but maybe we should do that on our cars. Just put it all over. crazycomics.com or whatever podcast website we want to promote.
I don't want people keying my car.
Yeah, that's true. There's plenty of keys out there. I still got a few keys for the compound, folks. Just email me. Let's see. In my vast backlog of things that I've recorded, I watched one with my wife. It's off PBS and under their series called Independent Lens. So it was called The King. Filmmaker Eugene Jareski gets a hold of Elvis Presley's 1963 Rolls Royce and goes on a musical road trip across the United States, commenting about not only his life, where he was at certain times, but getting local musicians in on the car, some actors. Just a real interesting thing. A lot of poignant views, especially, because they started filming before Trump was elected and reactions to after. And I think some of the better lines in the show was like, one guy's like, why did you do a Rolls Royce? Why didn't you do one of his Cadillacs? That's more American than Rolls Royce. But that was the status symbol in 63 to have a Rolls Royce, which is probably why Elvis bought one or why he gave them away. He was famous for doing that. But another guy was talking about just how America thinks. And this probably ties in closer to the show you were talking with on Freakings than anything else. He says, so Elvis, he had a deal going with Sun Records, but he could get bigger money at RCA. Let's go with RCA. Because he signed the biggest contract for any label at the time when he went from Sun Records to RCA. Well, he's got a great career going with music. Well, let's sign the biggest deal of all time for movies. And so he does movies for the next 10 years. And then when that's fizzled, he's like, well, I could keep doing the movies, or I could go back to doing music, or I could sign the biggest ever Las Vegas deal and work at Las Vegas for a lot of money. And the bottom line is he still died on the crapper naked at 42. Or was it 44? Either way, it didn't matter. It's kind of almost a mirror image of what was going on with America. You could just follow Elvis's life. So it's interesting. It's poignant. It's cool to see the places. It's cool to see scenes and hear Elvis and listen to some of these musicians on the road. If you just want a couple hours of thoughtful, not necessarily enraging television, kind of like what Cory was watching, see if you can find it. The King PBS Independence Lens. Other than that, the only other thing I'm kind of geeking on is I did a minor geeking. I call it minor because I didn't find shit. I had a bunch of coupons. I got a coupon for my birthday. I got a coupon from Half Price Book. They had their famous 20% off coupon last weekend. So I had two coupons for them. I had a 25% off for Barnes and Noble. So I loaded up on Monday. I had a little bit of eBay cash. Figured I'm going to go out and I'm going to find some stuff. I didn't find anything. I mean, there were a lot of things you're like, well, yeah, I could buy this or I could buy that. I did see a couple things, but then when you look on the eBay, he's selling this for $50. They're selling it for $30 on the eBays, free shipping. You're like, oh. Especially when you start dealing with graphic novels. I swear there's some people that just buy these things just to blow them out below cost. Or, sometimes like me, they read it and just get rid of it. So it was kind of fun just to get out of the house. It was a lot of fun to be able to drive the speed limit and not have to worry about sliding into something or anybody else. Of course, all that is moot now because we just got another round of fresh snow. We're going to get another round on Saturday. I don't know if you saw the forecast, Corey. There's 2 more storms bearing
Oh,
down on us.
cool.
One is scheduled to kind of go north, so we might get light snow. One is scheduled to go south, so again, we might get light snow. Although if it wobbles, or like this one, it just might hit a direct on us. So, yeah, Friday, Sunday, and again Tuesday. Of course, these guys might be wrong too, so you never know. So, but it was fun. Just getting out. I mean, sometimes if you're snowbound or you're depressed, get out, especially if it's sunny. Just go enjoy the drive or enjoy the sun or listen to some music. So
Or
I did
listen
have
to this here
fun doing that.
podcast.
Yeah, or I should say I did find some things that I will probably bring to the MCBA charity booth, which of course will be at the MSP Spring Con 2019, May 18th and 19th at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds at the Grandstand. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday, and we'll be set up the whole time. If you're like Cory and I have been snowbound, or you are out and about, or you just are kind of in a nicer area of the country and you're doing a little spring cleaning, we're always looking for stuff for the charity store. Give me a contact, figure out how to get a hold of me. You can do it either through the contact information Cory dropped, my Facebook page, the Crazy Comics and Stories podcast page on the Facebooks, and I'll figure out how to get it. We're looking for almost anything. Cory and I, we've sold so many odd things over the years, and I'm just looking. Let's see, I got this. I'll just kind of share some of the things that I found. So I guess I did do okay geeking. Okay, at Target, because they're always closing out stuff, I found something called Space Pop, the 100-piece puzzle, and it's got a bunch of women in what was that girl, that animated woman in it was I Insurance ads or whatever. They're drawn like her. I have no idea what Space Pop is, but it came in a nice little in a lunchbox, so that's cool. Found a couple Wonder Woman DC superhero girls figures, and these are under the Rock Candy label. And last week, Cory, I was talking about the Funko multigrain cereals that always have a little minifigure in them.
Yes.
I actually found some on clearance at Target. So I got Buddy the Elf, and he's got tasty treats that are fun to eat. So I figure I'll just bring those down, and I'll bring them to the charity auction, along with some of the other fun things that I dug up and found as I'm digging through things. And again, everything goes to, I know the 2 charities we're working with so far, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund and Heroes Initiative. Google them both, folks. They're worthy causes. And there will probably be a third one. So if something does come up, we'll let you know here. Dealer tables are still open. Creator slots are closed. If you are thinking it's still going or seeing if you can go. Again, if you're Frank Cho, hey, you're always welcome, Frank. You remember way back in 1999 when he was at the were you at the Fall Con? Were you still going to those? Yeah. That was when he
I made a lot of money off that con.
Yeah. We're gonna come back to this in a minute, so just remember that. But if you're looking, I think they opened advance tickets too. They were gonna wait till August, but there's a lot of people real excited about it. So come check it out. Website, and really, I don't know why I like to promote the websites, but in this day of Google, you can find them. mcbacomiccons.com. All the information's there. They don't have a Wikipedia page either. That's all. What are you geeking on, Cory?
First off, Joe, I'm going to drop a hint. Do you remember when Mick Foley retired back in 2000?
No, because he kept coming back.
I'm just going to tell you. Remember when Mick Foley was retired by Triple H in 2000? I'm geeking on some comics. First off, I read the first issue of the new Black Widow series.
Ooh.
Really liked it. It was a nice start for a spy working in the Marvel Universe. It was connected with the Marvel Universe, but it also dealt with the fact that she's a spy. She is not a hero. It was a lot rougher than a normal comic with darker subject matter. The violence was more realistic rather than, okay, they just punch people. Nope, these are punches and kicks and gunshots that have effect on people. It was first issue, so it was really just kind of setting the table, letting you know what's going to happen, and I enjoyed it. Looking forward to more. The other comic I read the first 4 issues. It's a 5-issue miniseries. I didn't know that. I thought it was just 4-issue miniseries. But I read the first 4 issues of the new Mars Attacks from IDW. The art is very cartoony. It's and other Mars Attacks comics have been, very big picture, showing you all of the horrible things the Martians are doing. This is very small picture. It's about a man and his dad has trouble walking. And the lead character hasn't really been able to put his life together. He's never really had a job that lasts. He's kind of a disappointment to his dad. Martians attack, and he and his dad go from place to place running from the Martians. And because the wheelchair's not fast enough, basically his crotchety old dad is in a wheelbarrow as they run from place to place, barely staying ahead of the Martians attacking. It's both funny and poignant at the same time, which is really hard to pull off. And it's not like any other Mars Attacks comics I've read. It's going to be interesting if they can spike the landing with the 5th issue. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Let's see. Despite the fact that we've been getting tons and tons of snow,
it's pretty.
And people are pissing and moaning about it all the time. Wow, it looks nice.
It does.
I mean, there's snow on all of the pine trees on my way to work. You see, one of the things when I went over to the Walmarts, I go over the Minnesota River. And it's not completely frozen. So you've got tons of snow on the ice on the river, and then in the middle, the water is still flowing through it. And it's one of those things where it's okay, I got to pull off and watch this for a while because this is really cool. It's just very beautiful to look at. I love the snow. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people, I'm so sick of snow. You know what? I got a warm house. I got a warm car. I don't have car trouble anymore because my car is only a year and a half old. I'm getting up early enough that I don't have to worry about getting, like today, there was next to no traffic, so I got to work a half hour early. Why? Because I left, I got up at 6. I went out and looked at, I'm going to have to shovel, so I shoveled my car out, got moving by 7. I was at work by 8 and didn't have to start till 8:30. And it's just it's beautiful. I absolutely love it. And then there were 2 things going to be in the previews that when I saw, I get the emails from Bleeding Cool, so it had the list of all the stuff coming out. And there were 2 things where I kind of am sitting at my desk reading my email going, the first one is the Marvel Horror Omnibus. It is going to be an omnibus that reprints a lot of the short-run Marvel horror series, like The Living Mummy, The Golem. What was the one Tony Isabella did about the Marvel monsters?
Wasn't it the Giant Colossus?
Yes, The Living Colossus. A lot of those short-run series, Gabriel the Devil Hunter, all of that. Those are going to be in a big omnibus. And then the other omnibus where I was is the first in a new series called Timely Selects. And this one is the Submariner stories in order. And it's about 1,400 pages of the Submariner stories, rather than reprinting entire issues of Marvel Comics Presents or Submariner, which would have tons of backup features. These are just the Submariner stories. And there's a reason why they sold so well back in the 40s, because Bill Everett's art was just phenomenal back then. It's a little stylized for modern audiences, but especially those real early ones, his use of Zipatone to show underwater sequences was just, now that it's being printed on good paper, you look at it and go, what? That is just so cool. And the way he built the underwater civilization, and Submariner slowly becoming a hero over time. That's some fascinating stuff, and it's going to reprint a lot of stuff I've never read before because it's just the Submariner. And I'm wondering if they're going to do, okay, then they're going to do a timely select of the Human Torch and then one of Captain America. And if they do, I'm going to be pretty happy about it. Marvel's Omnibus line is picking up the slack because the Masterworks line's no longer doing the Golden or Atomic Age stuff. So we're going to get more and more of that in those omnibuses, which I think, they're treated better anyway. Well, believe it or not, kids, we've actually finished close to being on time. You've listened to us talk about comics for an hour and a half.
Good for you. Now get out and shovel the walk.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
You remember when I was telling you about, we had no idea what a big breakout star Frank Cho was going to be when he was back at the MCBA in 1999, FalCon?
Yeah. All I know is he was terrible at poker.
He was. Now, I have no idea how this next group is with poker, but I do know they are some of the nicest guys I've ever seen on television. I saw them on the Jason show. They were premiering that they're downloads. Hey, careful. One of the guys getting married in a couple weeks. It's a group out of Hudson, Wisconsin called Yam House, YAMHAUS. Fantastic guys. I got in contact with them and said, hey, I saw you on the Jason show. Do you mind if I promote some of your music? And they said, sure. And then I said, well, what should I do? They have a new set called the Stargazer Sessions, and they're available on everything. Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play, Deezer, Amazon Prime, Napster, Tidal. I suggest go to their YouTube, or obviously YouTube. They're on YouTube, but you go to their Facebook, Yam House, and it will give you a direct link to the Stargazer Sessions where you can check out the EP and listen to them. They're in concert on March 29th. They're going to be at the Miramar Theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. On April 5th, they'll be back here at the Fine Line in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And they've just been touring all up and down the Midwest area. I think their music's fantastic. The feeling of this group is that they're right on the threshold of breaking out into something big. And I hope so, because they just seem to be fantastic guys. The music's really cool. They've been announced that they're going to be at the Basilica Block Party coming up. And hopefully, as they get closer on tour dates, they'll have more music for us to check out. So go to Yam House, yamhouse.com. The selection he suggested that we check out, and the one we're going with is Spoke Too Soon, which is the newest track. So give it a listen to here, and if you like it, go over to Yam House and tell them you heard it here. Cory, hit my Yam House.
I know what you want, I know what you need. We can take this far. Just listen to me. I could sing this song about some shiny things. Just take a look around, you see what I mean. In the spring, I got confused, and now it's me and my delusion. And I was sure, thought I could see the future laid in front of me, but I spoke too soon. Spoke too soon. I thought I loved you. It might be true, but I spoke too soon. I just spoke too soon. And it's a simple thing. We tend to say too much, but a couple hundred times not be enough. And anyone can speak, and anyone can try, but you had to believe could fly. You got pain, I'm sure you found. It isn't hard to see we're broken, but I just thought that you might see I loved you unconditionally, but I spoke